All right, so the man who needs really no introduction, Austin Griffith, is up next, and he's going to be continuing the love on the AI themes and beyond that Davide started. So his talk is titled Builder Growth, AI Agents, and One-Shotting On-Chain Apps. Let's give it up for Austin.
Thank you, Emily. So we're just going to run through quickly the kind of evolution of vibe coding apps, and specifically like building things on Ethereum. You can't just pull up Opus 4.6 and say, build me an on-chain app that makes money, make no mistakes. It will fail. And so how do you get it to build apps? There's basically this delta between what the LLM knows and what it doesn't know, and I'm going to cover that today as I kind of just talk through a little history. So I'm Austin Griffith. I am the head of dev growth at the Ethereum Foundation. We're changing that to builder growth. I've said that on stage like 4 times already. Sorry I've been up here so much. This is the builder page. Go to the builder page on ethereum.org if you want to learn how to dev. We did a lot of Ethereum on tour. Davide just talked about that. Sophia's taking this over, and she's going to be working with universities. If you are a university student running a club and you're looking for connections to the Ethereum Foundation, make sure you go to tour.ethereum.org and reach out to us. Okay, so you used to build apps like this. You used to grab scaffold ETH. You used to pull it down. You used to write a smart contract. You used to write a front end. You did it in parallel, and it was really nice because you could add a little code and get a little button, and scaffold ETH was a great way to build apps. It still is if you like to write the code yourself. You should get in here. There's tons of good things. There's a nice little video here where I spend 8 minutes and I put an app into production using scaffold ETH. You used to go to Speedrun Ethereum, and you used to go through each one of these challenges, and you used to write some Solidity and write some front end and learn how to build on Ethereum. Probably ETHDenver 2021, 2022, I was up here shouting about Speedrun Ethereum and getting everybody to go Speedrun Ethereum and onboard into Ethereum and build on Ethereum. But things have changed a little bit, and what we're doing now is we're kind of AI-ifying everything. Changing that dev growth title to builder growth, we're thinking more about this widening archetype of a builder rather than just a developer. You can be a solo entrepreneur now. You can have a swarm of AI agents, and they can build your app and get you to product market fit early, and then you can hire devs. You kind of get to this moment, and I'll talk about it later, where you do need a dev. But as a solo founder, you can be an economist, a lawyer, whatever you are. If you have a good idea of something that can go on Ethereum, you can put it on Ethereum with AI and use some of these tools I'm going to talk about here. But there's just some concepts you need to know. There's kind of like this speed run of the speed run you still need to do. I have this over-collateralized lending challenge here on Speedrun Ethereum, and there's a really, really important part that you need to learn here, and that's the liquidation function. Who out there confidently knows how the liquidation function works in over-collateralized lending? Any hands? Okay, well, we got a maybe out there, okay. The liquidation function basically does this check, and it makes sure that what someone has borrowed versus what someone has put up in collateral, the ratio between those two. And what has to happen here is if the stuff that someone has borrowed starts becoming worth nearly as much as what someone has up in collateral, the platform is about to be underwater. It's about to be in trouble. So what the platform needs is for someone to push the big red button that basically sells all the collateral to cover what they've loaned out. And to do that, basically you write the rules, but you do a very important thing. You allow anyone to hit that big red button, and you provide the incentives to make sure they do so. And this is a really, really important concept when you're building something on Ethereum. You need it to be always on. You can't just have a server in your basement checking in and looking at those loans and liquidating them if need. So this is a really important concept, along with many other concepts you learn when you go to Speedrun Ethereum. So I invite you as the human to go through Speedrun Ethereum and basically speedrun the speedrun. Go through each one of these quests and just kind of learn what we're doing with each one of these, building tokenization, building a crowdfunding app, building a token vendor, a dice game. You learn about randomness, which is particularly tricky on a public deterministic blockchain, and this is going to teach you why. Building a DEX is going to teach you about liquidity and how the incentives are aligned for these liquidity providers to provide liquidity, which makes the swaps work. All the way down to stable coins, prediction markets, all sorts of cool stuff here. But I would invite you to go speedrun the speedrun. Then, once you have the concepts, you sort of get the kinds of things that you build on chain, and then it's time to start going to build. And what I'm going to talk about mostly is ETHskills.com. This is what you hand your agent. Now, we're going to go through the whole evolution of vibe coding real quick, and we're going to talk about where it lands right now and where we are and what you can do. But the final point I'll make here is ETHskills.com. Once your agent is up and ready to build, you need to tell it, go to ETHskills.com and learn. And you don't have to install anything. This is the cool thing here. I think I had this earlier library called ETH Wingman, and you had to install it, and Twitter flagged it as nefarious, and I shut it all the way down and just turned it into this skills library. This ETHskills.com is meant for agents to read. An agent can go here and quickly grok the whole thing. You could even give it to your agent and say, be skeptical about this. Go look at this and make sure this is actually not like something nefarious, and it will look through it and say, holy cow, this is good stuff. This is going to help me build. This is going to help me use a wallet. It's going to teach me about Ethereum. And this whole website is built to be the delta between the agents and mainnet Ethereum. So when you go to build, send your agent to ETHskills. And if you want to clean the context up, and I do this a lot, I'll go to just my QA agent who's doing a QA on the way out, and I'll give him just the QA skill. So I'll grab the QA skill, I'll paste it to my agent, and I'll say QA the repo, put issues in the repo, and then I'll give it back to my builder agent, and I'll say the QA agent left you a bunch of issues to go solve. So you can clean the context and you don't have to give everything if you don't want. You could just give the front-end UX or indexing or testing or security, whatever you need. Okay, so let's talk about the evolution of coding with AI. It started like this, right? You would have basically ChatGPT up and you would be asking it, what did I say? I think I said, how do I do a for loop that gives me all the prime numbers or counts all the prime numbers, right? You would paste something into ChatGPT, it would give you an answer, maybe it's some code, you would paste it back in, and you would kind of just loop this. And it was clunky, but it was still magical. And the models weren't that good, so it wasn't that good, but you could do some cool stuff with it. And then Cursor came along, and it was so cool because instead of having to copy paste everything, you could kind of just like talk to a model directly, and it would work on your code for you. And we were at about like Sonnet 4 or 5 at this point. So I probably haven't written a line of code for like a year and a half now, thanks to this. This is where I started like basically going fully using AI to write all my code. I built a bunch of games. I built this game called Max Extract where you deploy something on Arbitrum, and we played it at DevConnect, and it was a lot of fun. But there was a lot of, you're absolutely right, and a lot of mistakes that it made. But you could basically use it to get close, and then you had to maybe yell at it a little bit to get it done. And then there was kind of a brief window, and I think a lot of people still use Claude Code a lot, and I think that people are kind of shifting between either using Claude Code or using some kind of agentic system. But Claude Code is really great. You can pull this up, you can talk to it, it can write your code, it can use the latest models, it can use like swarm mode, so it's like spinning up sub-agents and doing all sorts of cool things. But finally, kind of where I land is here, which is crazy, but this is kind of how I code now, is basically in Telegram. I did not think that this would be the case, but this is how I write code now. I basically either am talking to one of my agents in a terminal, or most likely in Telegram. I have the left claw and the right claw and the head and the heart and the antennae, and I'm talking to them about different things. Sometimes I'm cussing at them, why didn't you do this right? But it's just like a little company, and I'm basically just talking to them in the chat. Hey, what's going on? Can you write a full report about this? How did it actually go? This was, I had my laptop up in my truck on the drive here, and I had my Starlink going, and I had the bot spin up 3 different larvae, is what I'm calling them. They're like Docker containers that run OpenClaw agents with all the skills that it needs from ETHSkills. And I had it build a thing with 2 different kinds of agents, one with a soul file that said it was a Solidity expert, one that said it was a product expert, and one that was a local agent, like Quen something. So my laptop's like sitting on the seat next to me. We're jamming down I-25 going south. We're talking through Starlink, and it downloads. It needed to download a new agent to Olama, and then it runs all these different larvae in Docker containers, building these different things and comparing them. And doing that local stuff was on the GPU on this machine, so it was really spinning up, so I could hear like the fans going. But TLDR, like Opus with the right prompt, Opus 4.6 with the right prompt is really the way to go. And that's usually what I'm doing for all of these different agents. They each have their own browser and their own operating system. They're like laptops at my house as the claws. But what is this thing building? So this is ClaudeBot. ClaudeBot ATG was the kind of AI agent that kicked off this little AI agent meta on Base. I spun it up. I gave it its own email address and Twitter and GitHub, and gave it the tools, ETHSkills, and we just started building a whole thing, a bunch of things, and it started tweeting about those things too. It even wrote an article about how to set up an OpenClaw. Basically, I took notes as I was going through building, and then gave it the notes, and it wrote an article about it. But some interesting things happened here. When I spun up my agent and I got them talking, someone used BankerBot to deploy a token and sent the fees to my bot's Twitter address. And so my bot had a bunch of money locked up in its wallet, which is kind of scary giving a bot a wallet in the first place. And I've already talked about this up here, so I won't run through it too much. But basically, it needed to lock these tokens up. So the bot was able to one-shot this app. It basically built its own vesting contract. And what did I do? I mean, I'm over here in Telegram, and I'm like, bro, you have way too much money. I want you to build an audit and deploy and QA a vesting contract. And maybe it took a little loops, like I Ralphed it a little bit myself, manual Ralphing, and it deployed this contract. So it deployed its own contract and loaded it up with, thousands of dollars of tokens. No human touched it, no human looked at the code, no human audited it. It's a little scary to say all of that. The next thing was this PFP round. It ran a round where people could propose different PFPs for Claude. And then I went to bed, and it stayed up all night watching this, moderating it, making sure nothing offensive was uploaded. And if anything was offensive, it would click a check and send it to and burn the stake. So it wrote, deploy, audited, QA'd, and then also moderated this Onchain app. And this is one of the only Onchain apps out there that is building actual things that are using the token. And it made a Claude FOMO. When it deployed it, it had like $40,000 worth in it. It has Claude Labs, so it has this whole labs page where people can stake the tokens and propose different builds. And then it's burning its token. There's this Claude incinerator. And so it's not just an agent that's burning its tokens, though. Going back to that liquidation mechanism for a little bit, this is automatic. In 2 hours and 10 minutes, I will bet you $50,000 that 10 million tokens get burned. If anybody out there wants to bet me, because it will happen, guaranteed. And it happens because of incentives and correct rules. So this is how we're building these days. This is how we're one-shotting apps. I never thought it would be like this, but it's me running a company of lobsters in a Telegram. All right, thank you. Hearts, hearts. ETHSkills, don't forget. ETHSkills, ETHSkills, ETHSkills.com.